Nintendo really looked at the Switch 2 launch and said, you know what this needs? A cover charge. Not for a new game. Not for a new expansion. For your old game to stop looking like it got rendered through a wood chipper. That is the whole scam in one sentence. New console, old cartridge, you buy the Switch 2. You bring your old games. The console smiles at you like a waiter, then quietly asks for another fee, so your game can stop wheezing. That is the scam smell. Not full cartoon robbery. Worse, petty robbery. The kind where you can afford it and still feel spiritually pickpocketed. Believe it or not, this is my actual voice. No algorithms were harmed, though my vocal cords are definitely questioning my life choices. And that is why people are mad. Not confused, not shocked. Mad, there is a huge difference. Confusion is opening tax software. Rage is buying a stronger console and being told your old copy of Zelda might need an extra $1 permission slip before it can fully stretch its legs. Nintendo officially rolled out the Switch 2 in 2025 and tied certain upgraded versions of older games to this whole Switch 2 edition setup. That part is real. Somebody in a meeting actually signed off on a phrase that sounds like downloadable paperwork. Even the name is annoying. Switch 2 edition upgrade pack. Brother, that is not a feature. That is something a copier says before ruining your afternoon. Call it hero patch. Call it goblin remover. Anything with a pulse. Instead, it sounds like a legal document, and the price makes it funnier. In the rough draft, the number was $10, which felt believable, because Nintendo has spent years treating money like a side character that always deserves more lines. But one of the real examples landed at $5. And somehow that is even more irritating. $10 almost has confidence. $5 feels like a landlord charging extra because the hallway light worked. It is not financially devastating. It is morally mosquito-like. Tiny bite. Huge itch. You know that feeling. Everyone watching knows that feeling. It is not about whether you can pay it. It is about the insult of being asked. You bought the stronger machine. You already own the game. The hardware should do the hardware thing without stopping the experience to pass around a tiny tip jar. That is the core issue. Strip away every PR slide, every bullet point, every smiling Nintendo voiceover. Normal people hear backward compatibility and think one very simple thought. Cool. My old game should play better on the new box. End of sentence. No chart, no flow diagram. No fee that looks small until the principal kicks your teeth in. And Nintendo somehow turned that clean idea into a kiosk at the airport. The timing made it even funnier. Before the big mystery could really marinate, leaked clips of the system UI and setup process were already out there, making the rounds online. So instead of the audience staring in awe at some polished reveal, people were already squinting at the menus, startup flow, and transfer screens like they were inspecting a restaurant kitchen through the back door. That matters. First impressions matter. If the first big conversation around your fresh hardware becomes, wait, this menu feels very familiar, and why is improved performance acting like a premium side dish? Then the hype train is already missing wheels. Because let's be honest, nobody is buying a Nintendo console because the icons look athletic. This is not a gaming PC ad with techno music and exploding fonts. It is Nintendo. People show up for Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Animal Crossing, and the eternal hope that maybe this time the online features will not feel like they were designed inside a monastery with no internet access. So, once the machine lands, all the attention swings right to the painful question. Am I paying for meaningful extra content, or am I paying to let stronger hardware stop pretending to be weak? That question is a hand grenade. Once it lands, every explanation starts sounding like accounting trying to wear a party hat, and then user reactions start adding lighter fluid. Some players look at certain upgrade packs and say, okay, if there is real added content here, maybe I can live with it. Others see the same thing and hear the world's smallest hostage negotiation. Pay a little extra. Get your frames back. Welcome to the future. Then comes the nightmare version. People actually buy the enhanced upgrade, boot it up, and the results still look rough. Maybe the image is blurrier than expected. Maybe the upscaling looks strange. Maybe the premium pass still moves like it is carrying groceries upstairs. That is not just bad. That is a paid practical joke. Imagine buying the so-called upgraded version, and it somehow arrives looking like it was polished with mayonnaise. At that point, the argument dies on the spot. Nobody cares what the store page promised. Nobody cares how many features were technically included. If the thing you charged extra for still trips over its own shoelaces, then congratulations, you sold clown shoes as formal wear. And Nintendo always gets hit harder by this stuff than companies with much uglier reputations. That is the funny part. If EA sneezes greed, nobody even spills their coffee. If Ubisoft charges extra for wallpaper, people barely blink. But Nintendo has that toy company glow. So every money move that feels greasy lands like betrayal by a birthday clown. That is why the backlash feels hotter than the amount itself. This expensive, you really tried that with a straight face. It is not sticker shock, it is insult recognition. People like us will read pricing breakdowns, edition charts, DLC notes, subscription caveats, and contradictory social posts just to map the damage. Casual players will not. They will see old games on new system, assume that means the obvious thing, and then get hit with a weird branching path of maybe free, maybe paid, maybe bundled, maybe tied to a membership. Picture the household version. Parent buys the new Switch 2. Kid wants Mario Kart. Parent inserts the old game. The system pops up with some version of, hey, there may be a better way to play this, depending on what you own, what you subscribe to, and how much nonsense you are willing to tolerate today. Parent stares at the screen like it just requested a blood oath. Kid asks why the race car needs a receipt. And the defenders do have one decent point. Some upgrade packs are not just make number bigger. Some include DLC, some add features, some tie into Nintendo's extra ecosystem stuff. Fine, nobody is saying every paid upgrade is automatically fake. The problem is that public perception has already settled on the simplest version of the story, and the simplest version is lethal. Nintendo is charging for better performance. That sentence is short, clean, mean. It fits in a thumbnail. It survives screenshots. It spreads across Reddit, X, YouTube comments, and every group chat where one friend always acts like the unpaid defense attorney for billion-dollar companies. Once that headline takes root, the longer explanation is dead on arrival. Meme clarity beats corporate nuance every single time. And Nintendo handed the internet a perfect meme. You have a new console people already want. You have beloved first-party games people would happily replay. You have a massive chance to look generous by making those old favorites sing on stronger hardware by default. Instead, you put a little toll booth at the end of the bridge and ask people to smile while paying it. That is comedy. Satire did not need to exaggerate. Nintendo did the writing on its own. The really brutal part is how inevitable the ending is. You know it. I know it. The drywall knows it. People are going to complain. They are going to rant. They are going to post dramatic reaction thumbnails where their face looks like it just saw an alligator in the cereal aisle. Then half of them will still buy the upgrade for the games they truly care about. That is why Nintendo keeps trying this kind of thing. It works. The fanbase has the survival instincts of a moth at a chandelier, and Nintendo knows exactly where the pressure points are. Mention smoother Zelda performance and some people start floating 6 inches above the floor. Whisper higher resolution next to a major first-party title and wallets open like they just heard a mating call. It is horrifying. It is efficient. It is the kind of market understanding that would be admirable if it were not also so deeply annoying. That is the you versus them angle here. You want the simple deal. Buy console. Insert game. Enjoy improvement. They want layered monetization, edition branding, upgrade packs, membership tie-ins, and enough receipt complexity to make a grocery store blush. You want common sense. They want architecture. And when architecture walks in, fun usually leaves through the window. That is what makes this so stupidly avoidable. Nintendo could have scored a gigantic public win by saying, hey, the obvious performance benefits come free with the stronger hardware, and paid upgrades are reserved for truly chunky additions. New content, new modes, new reasons to care, clean line, easy message, everybody applauds. Instead, they blurred the line so badly that now every upgrade has to defend itself in court before anybody even enjoys it. That is exhausting. Gaming already has enough menace. I do not need nostalgia going through customs. So here is the blunt take. Switch 2 upgrade fees are not infuriating because they are financially ruinous. They are infuriating because they feel like Nintendo is monetizing the last step of a promise you already thought you purchased. The company sold backward compatibility with one hand and held out a tip jar with the other. That is why people snap, and the punchline is vicious. Nintendo will probably get away with it anyway. The complaints are real. The backlash is real. The roasting is deserved. But the games are also real, and that is where Nintendo always escapes like a cartoon burglar running through a painted wall. People can hate the move and still crave the result. That is the hostage magic of beloved exclusives. So congratulations to Nintendo, I guess. They took improved frame rates and turned them into micro-drama. They managed to make a next-gen rollout feel like a billing seminar. They transformed your old game's work on the new machine into a sentence that somehow now requires an asterisk, a chart, and maybe a licensed therapist. If I had to write their fake apology, it would go like this. Players, we are sorry you incorrectly assumed stronger hardware would strengthen older software without a ceremonial payment. We recognize that common sense may have misled you. To make things right, we are pleased to offer enhanced clarity through a modest fee, selected membership tier, or spiritually significant upgrade path. Please understand this decision allows us to continue our proud tradition of making money in ways that feel handcrafted by cheerful elves who absolutely despise you. That is the whole joke in a nutshell. Adorable mascots, wonderful games, business decisions made by a vending machine full of snakes. But let me twist the knife one more time. Nintendo could announce tomorrow that breathing near your cartridge unlocks an aromatic deluxe edition, and some fans would still line up with tears in their eyes, explaining that the scent profile adds immersion. That is how strong the hold is. This company can make masterpieces, then charge the door knob for existing near them, and people will still show up hoping the knob has haptic feedback. So if you are wondering why the internet blew up, there it is. Not because the fee is impossible. Because it is insulting in a tiny, surgical, unbelievably annoying way. Nintendo did not punch people in the face. It flicked them in the forehead with expert precision, then charged admission for the finger. That is nonsense wrapped in cheerful branding and menu music. And somehow, that might be the most Nintendo thing ever.